He lost 10,000 the day that he tweeted that out. 10,000 people unfollowed him. So, okay, if you actually don't know who JonTron is, quick backstory, all right? This is an online content creator, a real a real influencer, if you will, all right? Who's been doing shit online for about video games for, you know, a long time. He was one of the first big ones that did stuff about video games. He was basically like a video essayist, all right? And he made really funny videos, all right? At least my recollection of them are that they are very funny, right? And the collective might of the internet came down on him in 2016 when Destiny talked to him, all right? So he started off doing online video game stuff. He did stuff with Game Grumps. He actually founded the Game Grumps channel with Ego Raptor, right? And it was you know, just a great time. There were a couple of instances where you could kind of see what was coming, right? You could kind of see what was coming from a mile away, right? But if you didn't know that it was coming, it was a big fucking blindside to you. All right. Just as an example, real quick, of what we're talking about in terms of flying close to the sun, so to say.
Back me up here, guys. All right. Aaron is like, show me this gingerbread house he put all his love and care into. And then as a fucking goof, I put a hole in that.
It would be so funny, John.
I put a hole in that.
I remember the exact thing I said to you was, I would question the quality of our friendship at that point. I would be like, what is wrong with John?
I put a hole in that.
It's not, it's fucked up. It's just fucked up. It's fucked up. No. You and...
Bust a cap in that.
Well, I don't have any lives left.
So there were warning signs. There were warning signs for sure. And yeah, that clip right there actually led to, like, yeah, he was saying the N-word. If you didn't know, if you didn't get the gist there, the editor that was putting the words up on screen and putting in the tuba noise, that was to censor the N-word. And that actually led to like a big fight within the Game Grumps, because that made the editor very, very uncomfortable, right? You could hear Ego Raptor was very, very uncomfortable in that situation, right? He was saying, that's fucked up, just trying to get through it, right? And so, like, there were warning signs is what I'm trying to get across with that, right? And then, you know, he left the Game Grumps, right? It's not why, because he was there for a while afterwards, right? But he left the Game Grumps eventually and went and did his own thing, right? And there were some edgy jokes in some of his things. I actually don't remember, it's been so long, any of the specific jokes out of any of the videos that he put out in that time. But sometime in 2016 or very early 2017, Destiny talked to JonTron, and we'll get to that conversation at the end, all right? But it basically, we can watch if there was like the animated thing that Internet Gas posted earlier, maybe we can watch it as a prelude.
First thing that you just said doesn't really make sense. It was a European nation. Like in the late 1800s and the early 1900s, Italians and Irishmen were discriminated against, like, massively coming to the United States. Like, they were called,
Okay.
I think Irish people were called the inside-out Negroes. Like,
But we weren't there at that time. I mean, I was born in 1990, well past the. I mean, I'm not even 100% white. I'm just saying this as a matter of fact.
I would say that Jim Crow laws probably assigned white and black people to different areas more so than a Black Lives Matter speaker or Obama talking about a racial issue.
I just don't know that it's on the same level, especially because...
Well, it's not. It's on a much lesser level than it used to be. We don't have Jim Crow laws anymore. We don't, women's suffrage happened,
You're right, and people still manage to create divisions between themselves.
Well, because there still exist divisions. Black people are disproportionately represented in prisons. Women are disproportionately represented in certain workplaces.
Okay, but the argument is that it's white people who caused them to be in those places. That's the implicit argument, not that they have any agency of their own to...
Who do you think was responsible for Jim Crow laws?
Well, of course it was white people. Nobody would ask Japan if it was okay that, Japan become a minority Japanese nation.
But we're not Japan, and I don't care about Japan. And also, Japan is one of the most racist fucking countries in the world. Do you want to be like Japan?
This word racist, what does it mean?
It means that the Japanese people...
So yeah, you get the gist. A lot of really weird race realism things, a lot of just racist things, and like hardcore conservative things. I don't think that you should cancel someone for simply being conservative, but when you get into the point where you're talking about like race realism, that's when we are, get into the extra sketchy area. What are we doing? We're talking about JonTron. All right. So that just leads us back to, let's get rid of some of these tabs. JonTron, in the past couple of days, has been trending a fucking lot. And there's a reason for that. Couple of reasons for that. And we can scroll through his Twitter a little bit to get there, right? But let's just see. We got a lot. We see 2 Fauci things thus far. This is the 3rd Fauci thing that we've seen in just the past couple of days. All right. He's just been on a spree talking about the vaccine. All right. Let's watch this video.
Vaccines that are really quite effective. The mRNA vaccine, highly effective. Extraordinarily efficacious, 94 to 95% for mild to moderate disease, and virtually 100% efficacious. Because the real world effectiveness is even more impressive than the results of the clinical trial.
And so we have a bunch of articles, and it's going to get in. Jesus Christ, the wind. It's going to get increasingly fast, right? Because of the memes. Down to what did it end on? Something like 30% is what he says it ends on, right? And that is not accurate. It's not 30% effective against COVID-19. All right. But there's a lot wrong with this video, right? I don't think that this was particularly well researched, of course, but we run into bigger problems, right? When we look at this right here, and I can just for y'all's sake, really quick, hide the chat and show you guys that I don't know what strain of COVID was out in 2011, but it wasn't COVID-19. And we certainly didn't have the vaccine at that time, right? And we shouldn't say vaccine. There are multiple vaccines. So that's another issue with this, right? Where this is like implying that there's one vaccine that is like really, really good, and then the vaccine is actually bad. But there's multiple vaccines that they're referencing here. They're in not chronological order, right? 4 days ago. This one's from 2021. This one is from January. This one's from July, right? This one doesn't have a date. This one's from June. This one's from June, August, July 8th, September, May, May 27th. Like, so it's just all over the place in terms. So it's selectively picking numbers and putting them into sequential order so that you can construct a narrative in order to say that there is a vaccine that is not effective, right? Some people took exception to this. All right. For example, Vosh. I wasn't really convinced at first, but the article of 4 Japanese children dying to vaccines in 2011 really changed my mind on the COVID vaccine. Thanks. And he tried to rebut back, right? True, but what that should not have been added to the compilation, but curious how you feel about this. Let's see what this is. Sweden halts use of Moderna's COVID vaccine in under 30s. Okay, so this is fucking stupid. There's no reason for Sweden to halt the use of Moderna vaccine in under 30s, right? Even if you were going to make the case that it needs to be halted, you could make the argument like, oh, well, we need to do some further testing before we give it to minors or something like that. But under 30s, the myocarditis and pericarditis that I'm sure, if we click to the next one here, rare side effects to the heart. Yes. So myocarditis and pericarditis, right? Those are incredibly rare in children, but they're even more rare in adults. And it is significantly more likely that you get either of those conditions by contracting COVID-19. So this is just a stupid move. There's literally no reason for Sweden to be doing this, right? And so he has a little bit of a back and forth with Vosh. Let's see. If heart inflammation, strokes, blood clots, etc., in people young and old is just an afterthought for you and a future adjustment, maybe you're not really out for the good of the public's health after all. And then Vosh says, want to go ahead and look at that global COVID death count for me, slugger? Do your own research, which was, admittedly, a pretty based response. Anytime you get the opportunity to call someone a slugger, you have immediately won the argument, in my opinion. But that's where we are really on Twitter. We have this tweet right here. We have him claiming that the research facility in Wuhan was the reason that COVID-19 came about. All right, which is not true. And that perpetuating the myth about the puppies in the experiment in Tunisia. Let me see. Alleged puppy experiments. So like this is another fucking like straight up fucking lie that's been perpetuated all over the place, and JonTron is perpetuating it. Who reported this? Where is this article from? New York Post. Who would have fucking guessed? The New York Post. Only the most trusted name in news, right? So, yeah, just so you guys know, these puppies were not they didn't have their vocal cords cut, so they couldn't complain. They weren't injected with like, let's see. Claiming that the researchers locked dogs in cages with hungry sandflies so the insects could eat them alive. That's not what happened. They were injected with a vaccine so that they could see if the vaccine was effective against sandflies, because the larvae that they bite dogs. Dogs are the primary carrier of that parasite, and then dogs go around and perpetuate the life cycle. So if they can create a vaccine for dogs to keep them from perpetuating the life cycle of these sandflies, then less people get the parasite as well. And that means more people survive, right? Something like 6% of the population of Tunisia dies every year to these sandflies, right? So these puppies survived and they were not eaten alive. They were not euthanized afterwards. They didn't have their vocal cords cut like a lot of people are claiming, right? This is just putting them in there with the sandflies for a couple of minutes so that they can get bit, and then checking to see if they had the parasite. There was another study that has dubious connection to Fauci's organization that did cut the dog's vocal cords, right? In order to like reduce stress on the animals and on the people. I'm not condoning it. This is just where this story comes from, right? In order to test something about like an AIDS/HIV vaccine, or not vaccine, medication, right? That could be administered like once every 6 months instead of every single day, right? And this HIV vaccine, or I keep on saying vaccine because we were talking about vaccines, medication, in order for them to test if this was okay, they had to euthanize those dogs afterwards. That has no connection to Fauci that anyone can directly link, right? The one that they're talking about here, they're fine. They didn't have their vocal cords cut, and it's just completely false. It has no bearing in reality. So he's going through, he's doing a whole bunch of fucking weird vaccine nonsense, right? And then if you're wondering whether his community is rallying around him right now, look no further than his subreddit, which is my favorite part of this, which has been renamed JonTron is being stupid on Twitter. Just, it seems like total revolt, right? It's crazy to me personally how they didn't revolt against him with all of the race realism, right? With him saying that rich blacks are more likely to commit crime than poor whites, right? Like that sort of shit. That didn't cause the gamers. That didn't cause the gamers to cast JonTron aside. All right. The vaccines, though, led to this post, which I'll read because of the chat's in the way. Temporary ban on promoting additional content creators. The subreddit has had a history of takeovers, such as when the admin team decided to rebrand to Scott the Waz in light of a Redditor's post and content drought, or when a rebrand was done for Wario Land 3 in light of yet another content drought. Following the initial Scott the Waz subreddit rebrand, others took it upon themselves to take it further and invade other communities, which Scott was against. As a result, we have not since rebranded to another content creator, nor are we likely to in the future. In spite of this, we have still allowed jokes about rebranding to somebody or something else. In light of recent, events, however, these have increased exponentially. John's latest controversial statements are John's to deal with alone, and it is unfair to bring other content creators into the conversation. As a result, we are temporarily banning all jokes relating to other content creators being better or suggestions of rebranding the subreddit. None of the staff signed up to moderate vaccine or political debate, yet that's the path John's actions have taken us. This rule will be enforced from this point onwards. The mod team isn't the only one that's angry. Seems like there's a lot of people that are angry here, right? I'll do a little bit of vetting here really quick. Oops, that's not what I want. Oh, can I not open them in new tabs like that? There you go. So let's look at this one off. Yeah, see, so his community right here, not having it. Can we zoom out a little bit? There we go. Meme number 1. What the fuck? What the actual fuck did you just say to me? A safe vaccine? I don't think so. John, whenever he has 2 kids and hasn't vaccinated them against a preventable disease. So his entire community seems to be turning on him in light of all of this, right? And it doesn't seem to be deterring him from talking about it. He's still responding to people on Twitter, right? Yeah. Just why, John, why? Let's see. The reaction to John on this sub and YouTube seem to be very different. Twitter versus JonTron. Oh, maybe we can check that out. by Bo Blacks. What are they? I'm actually curious what they think. I think a lot of people aren't directly against the thing he's saying. No, they're just going to get downvoted to hell on Reddit. Reddit is a big neo-Marxist echo chamber. Anything that does not fit the narrative gets dogpiled by parrots, downvoted into oblivion, or straight up deleted. Yes, Reddit, well known for being a bastion of left-wing thought, and not the bastion of ANCAPs and child porn. So the reason I'm going over it is when we see people who obviously are not super educated on politics, and they have expressed really, really, really fucked up beliefs in the past, why are people suddenly surprised when they say more stupid or fucked up shit? Is anybody surprised about this? Why are people mad at the dog experiments? The reason people are mad about the dog experiments is because it has to do with Fauci. All right. There are experiments conducted on dogs and on monkeys and on bunnies and on fucking rodents and shit all over the fucking place. All right. All the time, constantly, every year, every fucking day. There's never a day where there aren't animals being tested on, whether it's for cosmetics, whether it's for like shampoo or some shit like that, right? Whether it's for medications or vaccines. They don't care about the puppies. They care about dunking on Fauci. That is what they care about. So when we see them getting mad about this, it's not about the dogs, right? When we see them getting mad about the vaccines, it's not because they are principally against vaccines. It's simply a way to own the libs, right? People have gotten so into the team sports aspect of politics that they will actively put their lives and the lives of those around them in danger of disease, rather than accept basic science that they would have accepted had their presidential candidate won. Because let's not forget which side of the political aisle, which group of people, all right, was making fun of libs for not trusting the vaccine pre-Trump or pre-Biden rather. Let's not forget that they were all saying, "Oh wow, all these libs would rather dunk on Trump than accept this miracle vaccine that Trump was able to provide for us." Operation Warp Speed. Or War Speed, yeah. So I don't think that there's anybody that's actually principally against vaccines that now that was like that before. Or at least, well, let me be clear. There was a much smaller anti-vax movement, all right? Most of them were people laughed to the corners of the internet. And just to demonstrate, I'm going to, while we go through it, because I've seen this multiple times, this is actually the first online debate I ever saw. It was March 13th. The Ides of March. This is the March 13th, the Ides of March, 2017. First debate I ever saw. I didn't know who Destiny was, and I didn't realize that I had, when I started getting into Twitch debate, I didn't realize that I had already been watching or I had already seen a Destiny debate before, right? Do you have stats on Dems and Republicans who are vaxxed? Yeah, you can look at stats online. We can do a very quick Google search. You know that when people wanted to start forcing vaccines, you made everyone more anti-vax and everything you guys talk. There's nothing, we weren't trying to force the vaccine at first, Warhead, actually. That's the fun thing about this, right? That's the fun thing about this. We weren't forcing the vaccine at first. We were incentivizing people to get it, right? But it's a catch-22 because no matter what happened, there would never be a situation in which dumb fucks like you would ever get the vaccine. Because it's not about keeping yourself safe. It's not because you're actually scared of the vaccine, right? Because against all evidence, y'all still choose not to get it. There's something else there. Government won't keep you safe? Oh, wow. Way to not actually engage with what I said at all, Warhead. Because there's literally no argument against the vaccine. There's no data-driven argument against it. All you have are feelings that you are scared of the vaccine because people have told you to be scared of the vaccine because the reason that the vaccine is bad is because the government's telling us to do the vaccine, even though a couple of months ago, this time last year, all the conservatives were saying everyone, those who sacrifice freedom for security deserve neither and get neither. That's fucking bullshit. Because even Thomas Jefferson, who I believe was the one who said that, it was either him or Benjamin Franklin. I always get them mixed up in my mind. All right. Whoever said that, right, also believed in the idea of a social contract in which you have to sacrifice some freedoms for security. Oh, we know this is how it goes? Yeah, I'm giving you literally 45 seconds to say you're either getting in the Discord or that you're leaving before you're getting banned. This is going to trigger the fuck out of me. No one signs this social contract? I'm sorry, are you 12? What is a social contract? Oh, I'm sorry. When the moment that every single person is born in the United States, we like grab their little fingers and write on a piece of paper. What is a contract? A contract is an agreement between a group of people, between two parties. Jump into the Discord or just fucking stay gone. What a fucking brainlet. God fucking damn. Unfucking believable. How brain dead people are. They'll just say things. They'll say things and they'll think, this is actually the best possible argument that you could give for this. Those that sacrifice freedom for security deserve and get neither. Damn, I can't believe it. Wow, you heard that statement. Now, what does that mean in the context of what we're talking? They were memeing when they wrote the Constitution. Constitution is part of our social contract. We have a social contract between us and the government of the United States. We have a contract between me and my fucking neighbor, right? For example, part of our social contract is I'm not going to like rape or kill you, and you're not going to rape or kill me, and we're going to get along, right? People like you, Jay Leet, fucking weird ANCAP type people, all right? They love social contracts. That's what the non-aggression principle, the NAP, that all fucking ANCAPs love. That's what a social contract is. It's not a physical document that's like, these are all the situations in which I will reciprocate our values. No, it is an unspoken agreement between everybody in a society that we have a general way that we're going to engage with each other. And those that can't engage in the social contract are going to be either reformed into following that contract or removed from society in one way or another. You can see this in the way that if someone decides to go around and rape and murder people, they get taken out of society by being put into prison, right? Or if they're like an active shooter, they like break into your house, they've broken the fucking social contract, right? You don't know if that person is going to hurt you, so they have signed away their right to life, all right? This is what a social contract is, right? It's for you to know what it's for you to know what your expectations are for other people and their expectations for you, right? And when someone doesn't live up to the expectations of broader society, right? In terms of like the most egregious things that you could possibly do, guess what? You are removed from society because you can't reciprocate basic human values with the rest of everyone else. All right. The red-blue divide in COVID-19 vaccination rates. When was it? September 14th. So we had 52 to 39 in counties that voted for Trump and counties that voted for Biden. I wonder if there's something that's more. The gap in vaccination rates between counties that voted for Biden and counties that voted for Trump. As of September 13th, it was almost 13%, which is fairly significant when you're talking about how many people there are in a society, right? Anyways, let's get to the conversation between Destiny and JonTron. All right.
It is a European nation historically. There's just no debating that. When people try to debate that, yeah, there was obviously the slave population who lived here, brought here against their will. So they were emancipated.
The first thing that you just said doesn't really make sense. It was a European nation. Like in the late 1800s and the early 1900s, Italians and Irishmen were discriminated against, like massively coming to the United States. Like they were called, I think Irish people were called the inside out Negroes. Like,
well, we weren't there at that time. I mean, I was born in 1990, well past it. I mean, I'm not even 100% white. I'm just saying this as a matter of fact. So when I see bullshit, I just know it. And
well, what do you mean by matter of fact? What I'm saying is that as time has gone on, we've seen more and more people be included in the identity of what it means to be an American. So it seems strange that today there's like this massive pushback on who can become included in that demographic. That just seems kind of strange.
Okay, I understand. But they started doing this thing where they were like, well, if you're black, you're here. If you're white, you're here. If you're,
I would say that Jim Crow laws probably assigned white and black people to different areas more so than a Black Lives Matter speaker or Obama talking about a racial issue.
I just don't know that it's on the same level, especially because...
Well, it's not. It's on a much lesser level than it used to be. We don't have Jim Crow laws anymore. We don't, women's suffrage happened,
You're right, and people still manage to create divisions between themselves.
Well, because there still exist divisions. Black people are disproportionately represented in prisons. Women are disproportionately represented in certain workplaces.
Okay, but the argument is that it's white people who caused them to be in those places. That's the implicit argument, not that they have any agency of their own to...
Who do you think was responsible for Jim Crow laws?
Well, of course it was white people, of course. I'm not arguing for Jim Crow.
Well, I mean, if you go back 50 to 100 years, yeah, it was kind of white people that did it. Now, I'm not saying that we need to lock white people up now or bring back reparations or anything, but...
They say you want to have a conversation, but they don't really want to have a conversation. They just want to blame whites more and more. And the more
if you had a daughter that was 18 years old, would you send her to hang out with 400 guys that were all like known like fucking juggalos or people that rape people or whatever all the time? Would you have her hang out in that environment?
Hey, don't do juggalos like that.
Probably not, right? But the argument I'm getting to is that your environment shapes you a lot, right? If you have a family that dates back, hundreds of years, if you've got parents that help you, parents that take care of you, like these things have a major impact of your life. If you have grandparents that were directly impacted by Jim Crow, you have parents that were born to people that were directly, discriminated against by the state. I mean, we're not that far removed from these issues. It's not like, well, my grandparents deal with this. Do we really have, we still deal with the Red Scare in the West.
So Jim Crow, one aspect of it here in America, but as far as the rest of the Western world, we don't have these same precedents, and there's
I only want to speak
in those communities.
I only want to speak in regards to the United States because everything else is way more complicated. When you get into the histories of other countries and Islam and in the Europe and everything, that's all different countries.
Nobody would ask Japan if it was okay.
Narrator, he later argued for Jim Crow. This is true.
That, Japan become a minority Japanese nation.
But we're not Japan, and I don't care about Japan. And also, Japan is one of the most racist fucking countries in the world. Do you want to be like Japan?
This is also
this
very
word
true.
Racist, what does it mean?
It means that the Japanese people thought that they were the superior Asians, and it was part of the reasons why they were so keen to do that shit they did during World War II. Japanese viewed themselves as the superior Asian race, and every other Asian is being subservient to them. It doesn't get much more racist than Japan. You want to try to draw a parallel to another homogenous society. Japan is like the worst go-to argument. It's also a dying country of people who, because they refuse to let anybody else in, are having horrible problems with their population. Who, like, Japan has a lot of like world record-setting suicide rates. Like, I don't think Japan is the country that you want to point to as your model homogenous society.
I just disagree. I think it is a model society. I mean,
in what way?
See, look, it's happening now. I mean, what is it that's so offensive about white people saying they would like to preserve their demographic majority?
Because I don't understand why is the skin color so important, and why would you drag the country down holding on to it? Like, there have been
you can see the direct line between people like JonTron talking about why is it so bad if white people want to preserve their demographic majority, or like this was a European country and people wanting to preserve that culture is like a good thing, blah 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 blah, right? You can see the direct line between that and the alt-right movement, and you can see the exact same, almost word for word rhetoric when you talk to people like Mio from Politically Provoked, or, you know, like if you've ever watched like Nick Fuentes, these things, when large content creators have opinions that are super fucked like that, right? And they just say them out loud like that, right? It causes a ripple effect that affects other people and affects people or affects broader society, right? He was using Richard Spencer talking points for hours. Yeah. It's unbelievable, right?
I didn't start this shit now, did I?
Well, there have been contributions by other people to our country.
And you can also see the absolute brain dead pipeline from this race realism, this white purity that he's talking about, to the kind of misinformation that goes around today that leads people like him to not trust fucking vaccines. It's all about the groupthink, what his group is saying, right? And why or why not you should listen to the opposite side.
Country that are non-white. Why wouldn't we want to continue to foster this kind of behavior?
I think human beings are at the core tribal, and they tend to want to stick to their own. I think it's completely natural, completely normal. And so,
but you've already proven that statement wrong in what you're saying, because you think you're a white person and you're half Iranian and what did you say, Hungarian?
Yeah, Hungarian.
That wouldn't have been considered a white person 100 years ago. 100 years ago, Irish wasn't considered a white person.
I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about mass immigration. Okay, let me ask you something. Do you consider the European colonization of Africa to be a bad thing?
Yeah, that's a very, very complicated.
It's only complicated because it's whites.
No, it's not. It's real.
No, it's not. It's not complicated because it's whites. It's because they were like forcing black people to farm rubber, and if they didn't farm rubber fast enough, they would chop off their hands, which isn't great, and is just kind of an objectively bad thing. Again, it goes to like the weird essentialization of race, right? It brings back, or it, like, you can see people doing it still today, right? Not just alt-righters, but essentializing race to people who are in like left-leaning communities, communists, and these people. They are also super into essentializing traits to race.
Really complicated, because in a lot of ways Africa's been exploited by different imperialist countries, and in other ways Africa has grown a lot in different economies because of their trade with these countries. Like, that's a really complicated question.
I mean, when the news is telling you that a vote for Donald Trump is a racist vote, okay, and Donald Trump, all that he's saying is perhaps maybe we should keep America the way it was.
So first, that's because that's an incredibly stupid statement to make. Most of what Donald Trump
says you.
Well, okay, when you say make America great again, what time period are you referring to that you would want to return America to?
Look, I don't think that this is a really silly question. I mean,
well, wait, you just said he wants to make America great again. He wants to go back to keeping America great. What time period are you talking about?
I said preserve. I didn't say go back.
Wait, preserve as it is now? Because I thought you said there weren't enough white people now. Or do you mean like just exactly right now?
You said that. I didn't say that.
You said that whites were becoming a minority. You said that it wasn't good.
They are becoming a minority. I feel like these are words you're putting in my mouth. I never said
I'm trying to understand.
There is. Well, why shouldn't the white people be able to address this? But they're not allowed to because it's called racist by people like you.
If you wanted to fix crime in the United States, the best way to do it would be to deport all of the poor people, because poor whites commit a lot of crime too, disproportionately compared to wealthier whites.
That's just not true. But okay,
wait, hold on, wait. You don't think that?
Well, yeah, of course. Well, yes. In relative
terms,
in relative to wealthy whites, yes.
Sure.
You're correct.
Okay, so do you think that poor blacks probably commit more crime relative to wealthier black people?
They do. Wealthy blacks also commit more crime than poor whites. That's a fact.
Wait, what? The court system disproportionately, even when controlling for socioeconomic factors, sentences black people typically for harsher sentences compared to white people, even when you control for the crimes. Yeah, that's absolutely true.
You're saying, I mean, this is just ridiculous. That they're going to sentence, I don't subscribe to that. Why not? Why do we have to take immigration?
So fucking taken aback, he knocks his mic into the wrong position. I mean, listen, this happened how many years ago? Fucking 2017, like 4 or 5 years ago, all right? And the trend still continues, all right? He's still putting out like crazy, cringy content and talking about political issues and saying the most fucking crazy far right things he can, right? Isn't he friends with Sargon? Aren't there like videos of him streaming with Sargon and talking about like the weird replacement of whites in Europe and in the US. If anyone has any of those clips, feel free to drop them in chat.
From all these
Because
areas.
it helps
Why?
grow the size of the economy and it brings talent in from other areas to continue to benefit the entire country.
It benefits the global elites. That's the only people it benefits.
Dude,
it doesn't
you are like
benefit-
you make like millions of dollars making YouTube videos. You don't count as a global elite. What are you talking? Are you like the working man now?
Look, there's one thing I came here to talk to you about. Why is it bad for white people to resist their own demographic displacement?
And your only answer was tribalism.
No, I explained other things as well. You know, when people, you know, let's say the French, you're being racist to us, you know, and then they're rioting. What are the French supposed to think exactly? They're supposed
I don't
to think
know.
more
I'm
of-
not French. I'm American. We were talking about
It's
America.
all-
Why have we gone across the seas again?
all intertwined. It's the same situation, but they speak a different language. I don't know why this is so hard for you.
Because it's not the same situation. Those countries
No.
are in dramatically different situations. You can't compare them.
That's like you're saying a man ate a sandwich in France and a man ate a sandwich in America, but these are not the same situation.
We're not talking about a basic thing like eating and consuming food. We're talking about the complex interaction and crossroads between culture and demographics and economy and geography. These are very complicated, high-level social issues that manifest themselves in far different ways across different countries. We're not just talking about eating food.
You speak pretty, my friend, but you haven't convinced me. I don't know if you may have convinced your viewers. I think they're probably on your side, but that's what happens when you go off home
speak
turf.
pretty.
You bring up the Irish and the Italians when it's convenient, but
What do you mean when it's convenient? I brought up the Irish Italians to disprove your points about tribalism. That at one point in time, they weren't seen as being included as Americans or white people, and now they are. So it seems like you got
this
over
is
that.
not true that they weren't considered white people.
Also, what Destiny could have pointed out is that we can be tribal over anything, and that the fact that we're tribal over being over like race is pretty fucking damaging, right? You can be like people are tribal over fucking sports teams. People are tribal over fucking you know what game system is the fucking best. People could be tribal over fucking anything. Where we draw those lines is entirely arbitrary.
It is absolutely true. Please.
Discrimination is wrong. We have gotten rid of
Streamers.
discrimination in our Western countries.
What do you?
Fine.
What?
It's very-
No, we haven't. What do you mean?
If you don't think we've gotten rid of discrimination, you're living in a fantasy land.
How do you
I
explain
feel
things like the
I feel
voter
like-
ID laws in North Carolina, or how do you?
Bro, what?
You're telling me that I don't understand, I guess, anything about the world, and you're very quick to lump like all Europeans in together with one another, when I don't think there are any Europeans that would
Just
do
saying,
that.
you're differentiating between people when it's convenient, like when it's in Iran or Saudi Arabia, but you are, when it comes to white countries, there's no difference. We have no culture. It's just all up for grabs. So it's one or the other. And people like you you just bounce around when it's convenient for you. That's why your arguments aren't rooted in any sort of consistency or fact.
Good luck with your endeavors and everything.
You too, man. Hey, thank you for having me on. And rip my career. All right, see you guys.
See you later. Fucking end my life. I didn't think that would be like that. I'm sorry.
First time actually listening to you debate. Was shocked to see how difficult it was. You try your hardest to maintain a worldview and the other person just goes nuts in the wind. Made me appreciate you more. Great job, buddy.
Thanks, buddy.
Oh no, he was retarded, da fellas.
Yeah. So in the end, I guess like the thing that we can point out here is this. We can open up those let me see here. Where'd it go? We can open up his fucking Twitter, all right? And we can see him posting fucking cringy ass fucking right-wing conspiracies theory, fucking dumb shit like this, right? Fauci is the like root of all evil in the universe today, all right? We can look at his subreddit, right? And see that people are turning against him there. There were some people that turned against him due to this conversation, right? I mean, I certainly didn't continue watching JonTron videos after this, right? I think that everyone should have the opportunity to change. But when they don't exhibit the willingness nor the ability to see that they're absolutely in the wrong, right? Even when their community is going against them so hard that they renamed the fucking subreddit JonTron as being stupid on Twitter and had to make a post like, hey, we don't want any other creators to get any backlash. Don't bring up anyone else's name here, all right? We don't want them to get backlash or have to have them get into the conversation, all right? This is JonTron's fight, blah, 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 right? that's when it's like, okay, this person needs to be completely ignored. All right. Sucks that JonTron had a place in so many people's childhoods and informative years when they were watching Game Grumps or watching his game reviews in their, you know, mid-teens, maybe like early 20s, maybe, right? But eventually, like, you have to completely jettison this person from the stuff that you were watching back then, all right? Because this guy's too far gone. Fucking true. There is no reason for my mic to be fucked.